Are you afraid that you're going to overpay for your house or you're not going to get a deal for the house that you buy? I totally get it. It's one of the biggest concerns, especially here in this specific market that we're in. That's just insane. Everybody feels like they're overpaying for a house until months later where they got equity and they just say, oof, I got lucky. No one really knows, right? Can you really tell if you're overpaying for a house? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you some examples of how I personally figure it out. And yes, you might not have access to everything, but after today, you'll be able to know what to ask from someone who might have access to these tools, or simply just looking at some active listings, which you should have access to using Zillow or whatever, getting an idea of what the details are of knowing what you need so you know that you're not overpaying for a house or you're getting a deal. So let's get to it. So for starters, let's get started with what the goal is here, okay? The thing is, guys, your goal with every offer should be to understand the context of an offer before the context of the values of that house. You should never be making an offer on a house that's just completely blind, like not even knowing what the price ranges are in that area or anything like that, completely trusting your realtor to do that work for you. You should at least do some of this work alone, because I personally think within the next few years, realtors are going to become obsolete, and only a few will survive. So, you know, we're preparing for that basically. So in this specific case, I looked at a house that came on today on the market, and I'm focusing on the specific city of Goodyear. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do something that you guys should have access to using Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, and then I'm going to get some data that I'm going to need as a real estate agent, which you can always ask for from your agent. So this specific house. So what do we do when we're looking up comps? A lot of people just start, the goal is like, oh, we're just going to find comparables that look exactly the same. Or they go, oh, we're going to find houses that have the same exact square footage. Here's my personal belief. When you're looking for comparables of a house, when you're trying to find the value of the house, you need to find first and foremost, what is the essence of the house? Now, I don't want to get spiritual here. Okay. Listen, right now in this time, we need some spirituality in our life, but this isn't the video. Okay. Go do some yoga, and then you can do spirituality that way. Today, we're just getting the essence, meaning what does this house represent and what kind of buyers can be buying this house? So by looking at this house really quickly, very briefly, it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, but it has 2 extra rooms, probably a loft and a den, and it's a 2,000 square feet home. So off the cuff, the essence of this house, it's a 2-story home with less bedrooms than it should have, but extra space for other things. It needs work. It's not in perfect condition, and it doesn't have a pool. So what's the essence? It's a 2-story home with minimal bedrooms, plenty of space, and needs work. Kind of a very quick glance. So what we do now to find an idea of, you know, what the comparables are is, I don't personally look at specific neighborhoods. And of course, you know, this might change. There might be specific neighborhoods that are different, but to just get an idea off the cuff, just boom, wada bam, I actually do a radius search. So you can do this probably most tools online do this nowadays. So I'll probably do, like, let's go maybe 2.5 mile search just to see what, because here's the thing, when people look for a house, they're not looking, oh guys, I want a house in this specific street, in this specific neighborhood. No, most people say, I want a house in Goodyear. So they're looking in this general area. So first, let's find out what other houses are out there that have the essence of that. I would not compare this house to other 2-stories because that's not what the essence of the house is. So let's narrow down the search to only look at 2-story homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom plus. And let's not go too crazy with this 2-story, because I know this one was like 20. Let's just start off by looking at what the other 2-story homes are like that. Let's just do that. We're going to find houses that don't have a pool. Well, before we do that, let's narrow down the square footage. I think it was like, let's do 1,700, just a broad range, 2,200. Just get a good general range of what's going on there. Let's probably stop it at 4-bedroom. We don't want anything too massive. And there's about 8 houses that fit that criteria. Now let's go look and see if we need to adjust anything. Why is that 1 story here? Oh, I put year built, 2 years. It needs to be built in the year 2. The year after was a 1 AD. Interior levels 2. Narrow it down, and now there's 2 properties. So essentially there's 2 competing properties right now. There's this one that we're focusing on, and there's this one that's a new build. Okay, so off the bat, if maybe this is all the information you have access to, you can kind of dictate, well, not really much to compare to. So now we try to get a little more information. Let's focus on the under contract and pending houses. And this is a little tough to use as comparables because there's no way of knowing what actually offer they accepted, but it's good to know what was potentially out there. When I look at an under contract home, I think this was a version of the house that came out that was so good it already sold, right? And we see here, getting a general broad range, 440, 450, 460, 486. And so 486 is the most expensive house. Let's kind of see what condition it's in. It's a 4-bedroom, 1,800 square feet home. This might have okay photos, but doesn't look in the best shape. Looks kind of beaten up. I can also tell it's an open door house, so I know they probably didn't do much work to it. Carpets look kind of rougher, so not a bad comp. Does have a bigger yard, I'll give it that, but that's not a bad comp for sure. So we'll call that 486. This one for 440, 2,000 square feet, slightly bigger. Actually a lot better shape. This is probably one that 100% sold for more than 440. And if you feel a little more inclined, have your agent call and figure out what it sold for, you know, if you really are trying to get a really good job with this. 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,000 square feet. Does have a pool, so I'm not going to use it as a comp. This one, 4-bedroom, 1,900 square feet, does have a pool. We're going to throw these in to just kind of see. So like we can tell here that if it has a pool, 450 is probably the minimum threshold of what it sells for. Here's one built in 2020, 450. So this is pretty huge actually, because if this sold for 450 and it's brand new, is this house worth 435 when it's I don't know, 8 to 9 years old? We'll see. Now as we're gathering data, you know, we're information gathering, we're going to look at now the closed properties, and we're going to focus in the last 30 days. So if you're going to be asking someone to get this information for you, all you have to simply do is, can you find me houses with similar square footage? Well, first you find the Essence on your own, right? So in this case, the Essence was a 2-story home. Their certain square footage, not in great shape. All you got to do is say, hey, can you email me the past 30 to 60 days, all the houses that are 2-story, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, certain square footage, and send me any under contract and pending houses. You don't have to tell them to do the comps for you. Just ask for the data. And they're probably going to be like surprised when you ask that, but you know, you're doing your due diligence. So that's what it's about, right? So looking at the last 45 days, we can see that there's been some sales. This one was built in 2004, has similar square footage. It might be a model match. No, I don't know. Anywho. Let's actually remove the houses with I changed my mind. We're going to just focus on the ones without pools. A lot of these are like newer too. We're not going to focus on the newer ones as well. 440, 1999. That's not a bad comp. Built in 2000, 405. That one's still pretty cheap actually. Why is it so cheap? Huh. They have a living area. As soon as you walk in, there's like a, not a living room, there's like a movie room. I tell you what, my wife would never, Arizona Cardinals here, I guarantee is a single dad down. This is this person loves Cardinals a lot, huh? Yeah, this one sold less, but it's not in great shape. But you know, it's the similar essence. It has wood. That's weird. What's going on here? Strange house. Okay, so let's look at our data. First of all, this house being listed at 435. We can tell already off the bat that it's definitely on the cheaper side. Other houses in the specific neighborhood sold for a lot more. Like this one was listed at 425 and it sold for 440. This one is pending, so we don't know what exactly it's sold for. But it was sold within 5 days and it started at 440, 450, etc. So I would say off the bat, this house is priced pretty well. It's priced at a price that there hasn't been any sales at 430 range. It's all been 450 for similar comps. So this one's, you know, is under contract for 450, and it's similar size, but it has a pool. So I don't know what it's sold for though, because it's still pending. However, I would say that it probably sold for slightly more. But either way, that shows me this is if it sells closer to 450, it's probably overpaying for it. So now that you have that data and you know what is it worth decent now, yes or no, and what's a really nice house that it compares to, that the house is like really, really much nicer, and what that was priced at, you know, that's not as far as you should go. So now here's the problem that people come up with. They look at these numbers and they go, well, you know, my agent wants me to offer 450, or there's other offers already in this house for 455, 460. Javier, if I make this offer, I am overpaying for it. And this is unfortunately the reality that we're in. These prices are going up so high because people are offering, let's say for this house, they might offer 450, they might offer 460, and they'll waive their appraisal contingency, which basically will protect them houses from not going up in astronomical value, which it has been. So they'll waive it, and now this house will sell for 450, 460, and now the next month when someone that has a similar house puts their house in the market, they're going to be using this as a comp, just like we use these other ones as comps. And that's going to continue to push things higher. So the thing about this, guys, is you have to be aware. You have to be aware of what you're doing. If you're going to offer 450 on this house, know that you're pushing value. So there's two main differences here that you need to know. Well, we'll call it three, okay? Left to right. Hopefully I do this right. This is right. Okay, so here. So the best scenario is you're getting a quote unquote deal, meaning that you're buying it cheaper than most houses have sold. Are you getting an amazing deal? Probably not. You're probably going to do a lot of work to it. You lucked into it. There were some kind of special circumstances, but you bought it under what most houses are selling for. The odds of this happening is extremely low because the houses that don't sell are the ones that are overpriced. And if they're overpriced, that means they're probably going to be more closer to this side now. And you're going to have to maybe underbid a bit and you'll get it there. They're not going to take an offer completely really low. So that's an option. That's what you want. But I'm telling you now, very, very extremely rare. Only happens with very special circumstances when there's like a private sale or something along those lines. The second middle option or middle of the road option is like you're buying it at the value where most things are right now. So for this specific house, buying this house for say 440, 435, that's probably going to be there. You're not necessarily pushing back values. You're more or less reinforcing values in this neighborhood. You're saying for sure 440, 430 is the threshold. It is the standard for a 2-story home that's a 3 or 4 bedroom. Now, what most people are doing is they are being the new, they're setting the new threshold for that value. They're pushing the values of that neighborhood, because if this house, you know, you offer 450, you waive your appraisal, you get it, or you buy cash, well, that is now the new threshold. Now the next person with a 2-story home is going to be pricing their house 450, 445. And now that's what's been happening for the past 3 years. People keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's going to get to the point where eventually, say maybe a year or 2 years from that road, someone's going to say, hey, we'll put ours for 550, or this house is sold for 540. Let's put ours for 550. And affordability didn't catch up, and there's just not enough buyers there. Personally, I think we're almost at that point. Affordability is getting pushed out now, and we're going to get to the point now where if these cash buyers stop buying and people stop pushing value, we're going to get more offers that are solidifying value, right? Now, what could go wrong is if there's so many listings and people start offering less and less and less, and if you start seeing that trend where people are starting to buy it cheaper than what the price is, then that means we're heading towards a correction. If people just start saying, hey, we're just making offers at list price and it's happening, it's sticking there, then we're solidifying those values and they're going to stay that price for a bit. If people continue to push values further and further, then that's the thing. So you have to be aware, ladies and gentlemen. Just be aware of what you're doing. If you're buying, and most people right now making offers and you're pushing values and you're hoping that values continue to get pushed, and that's your hope, then be aware of what you're doing. Just be 100% sure that the monthly payment makes sense and you can ride whatever wave might happen down the road. Because you have to be okay with the fact of saying, what if I'm that last person to push value? And if I'm that last person to push value, that means I'm at the top, and I'm going to ride whatever wave happens now, if it goes down or if it just stays that way and it just grows very, very, very slightly. So once again, just to recap, and Zeke, our lovely editor, will put this in nice words, okay? First things first, you got to do, figure out the essence of the house you're comparing, you're comping. You want to make sure you understand it and break it down in simple layman's terms. What is the house about? You know, nothing like, oh, you know, this house has lovely granite countertops and a golden statue of Javier in the front. It's worth so much. That's why, you know, sellers that go overboard with overpricing because there's so much emotional attachment. It's not, no. We're breaking down simple layman terms. What is a house about? Second thing is you do a search active houses, pending houses, and closed houses with the priority on closed houses of houses with that essence. Now you might need a realtor's help for that pending and closing, but as long as you know what you're asking for, they should be able to get that to you pretty easily. And then once you do that, just number 3, just get a good threshold of what the house is currently worth. You'll get an idea if it's overpriced or priced at that point. And then figure out what pushing value would be, in this example, I used a house that was similar but had a pool, a nice pool. That means if it exceeded that price, then that's definitely pushing value. And then you are just aware of the offer that you're making. So I know probably have to watch this video a few times to really understand these terms. I don't expect you just to watch it once. And also, you know, go ahead and check out my live video. I'm gonna start live streaming a lot more often now. So if you hit subscribe, I'm sure it'll notify you if I'm live, or hit the bell button. And you can hop on and we can do an example on the live stream or something like that. But and of course, if you ever have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, you can always email me, contact@javiervidana.com. Drinking a black tea from our local tea brewer. Ribbons Tea House, shout out to you. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks. See you on the next video. Thank you so much.